Hey everybody, welcome to this live stream. We prepared a little bit of showcases in World Creator, and we also finished a few new features for this one. And yeah, we want to show you this new amazing things that have been put into World Creator in version 2026.12 and in the upcoming 1.3. Okay, so with me in the stream is Utzel, it's one of our developers. Hi, Utzel.
Yes, hello. Hi. Yeah, good so far. Everything's well. Excited to show off the new stuff.
Yeah. So we are not going to show the bridge tools right now because I think we're going to focus more on our World Creator, and we'll do another live stream for the Unreal Engine, for Unity Engine, and for Blender. So, but we have updated indeed the Unity engine. So let me check. It was here. So we updated, for example, we updated the World Creator Bridge for Unity. Let's start with this one. And they just approved it today. So you can download it in the asset store. There's also a tutorial video. It's basically exactly the same as on our YouTube channel. And
It's
also in the customer portal, so it's also available in the customer portal. You want to say?
I think Tyler said you're a bit low on volume, just as a heads up.
So let's see if I can increase my volume.
Yeah. So for the Unity bridge, we updated that it now has object support, and what else did it do? I think that's the major one.
Yes, I think it was.
Yeah, and
so yeah, you can see
made it work with that.
World Creator terrain sample here, which you can also download in the samples here in World Creator. If you go to home, it's exactly that sample here. Where is it? It's this one here, biome 001. So if you just use that one, you can follow the Unity tutorial easily that we've uploaded. So pretty well, yeah. And this is a sample shot here in Unity, how it will look like. I think you have to do a few things in the shader settings, right? For the import.
Yes, exactly. Because from we're taking the GLB objects, and when we take those into Unity, we have to replace the shaders. But that's fairly straightforward. And just has to be done once, and afterwards it should work.
Yeah. But you also just can, replace the objects, right? So because as far as I know in Unity terrain, because the objects are part of the Unity terrain, right?
Yes, of course, yeah. So they're all prefabs, and you can just put in the different other prefabs from whatever kind of nature assets you have.
Yeah, because I think one of the most questions that we sometimes get from customers is that, yeah, you have that. I think we also had a YouTube comment on this where someone was saying, let me see, World Creator, World Creator, YouTube, here we go. There was a comment, I think, for the Unity engine here. If I well, no, we don't need that. Someone's here. The process needs some work to automate the materials much better. The objects look really poor in graphs, and automated settings should be provided that make it look initially impressive. Well, the core issue is that the objects that you probably imported into World Creator, so they are, differently set up. Basically, if you would have done the objects for Unity, you would probably have your own shaders or materials and such things, right? If you compare, let's say, trees, this tree here compared with a tree from Nature Manufacture, for example, they have different shaders, right? For snow and for, I don't know, they do world space texturing as well.
Yeah, and you have wind animations and all that different kind of stuff.
Yeah. But materials are really dependent on the application that is using the materials. So like Unreal has different materials, and Unity World Creator utilizes materials different than Unity and Unreal. And then in Blender you can set up materials completely different. So it's always, you know, if you're using objects in World Creator, I think the best approach is using them as a some sort of a reference, so you know where they are placed, and you know how you want to set up your forest, something like that. But when you go to another application like Unreal or Unity, then basically you would have to use, which I would recommend is, if you, for example, own assets from Nature Manufacture or from in Unreal from Mario, I don't know, use those assets, because those are optimized for Unity and for Unreal, and just, you know, replace them, and you get you get the scattering from World Creator, but you get the objects from Unity or Unreal. So I think that's probably one of the best approaches I would suggest in such a case. Else you would have to always adapt a little bit the materials, right?
Yeah. So takes a bit more work if you do it yourself, but of course you can just replace them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then let's step through some of the changes that we did in World Creator 2026.1. You can find the changelog here on the documentation of World Creator. If you go to the website of World Creator, we just adapted a little bit the main menu here. You go to Learn, then you can click here on Documentation. The documentation is going to open up here, and there you can see the release notes and everything else. So here, for example, the release notes for World Creator 2026. So let's step through these things. Because we decided actually to take a little bit of time, or let's say invest a little bit of time, a few months, by cleaning up the source code, improving the performance, and making things more stable. So if you just check this list, we had many requests regarding tablet support, and specifically for pen and tablet support here, where the navigation using a Wacom tablet, for example, should be improved, right? And we did that. So we actually used pretty nice information from customers from the gaming industry that supported us with really amazing feedback on that. So I can't show it right here on the stream, because I think we should have set up a camera or something like that so you can see how it works. See my fingers on my pen, how I'm using it on the tablet. Well, we could do probably a separate stream on that too, or at least a small tutorial. However, that one has been improved incredibly, so it's really better now. One other thing which I didn't like was the terrain focus and improved rotation. Now I really got to show this what this actually means. So let's go into World Creator directly. So what I didn't like is always like if you were about rotating the terrain always snapped to a position like this, because for World Creator the viewport is not that part here without the UI. The World Creator viewport is the entire window, so it always jumped to the center of the window, and the rotation always looked a bit weird. So we changed it, because now the rotation is directly always within the UI frame, regardless if you're opening, for example, if you open up a sculpt layer, click here on edit, it always adapts exactly to the center of the UI now. So if you rotate, rotation works like you gotta press the left alt key on your keyboard, and you use the middle mouse button to rotate around your terrain. That's really helpful now, and it really works pretty good. Even if you focus your terrain, you can see that here it focuses not always within the center of the UI. That's pretty cool. That always was disturbing to me, because there was always an off, like an off-screen rotation, which looked really weird. I didn't like that a lot. So this is something that we have adapted here. And
I think that's also changeable in the settings under controls. So you can also go back to the old scheme in case you want to.
Well, I didn't know.
It's under preferences and then controls. And then you have the adapt camera to viewport.
Adapt camera to viewport. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Because it's also affecting when you press F.
Oh, okay.
It also affects your focus mode. So now it centers there. And if you disable it, then
I see that. Okay.
a bit different, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. Great.
And if you disable the, oh no, okay, if you disable the UI, then it's already matching.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that thing here. Yeah, Double didn't told me that. So okay. No, that's okay. So this was one of those improvements here. Then we added this smooth filter, and now this this is kind of weird because why? I remember we had a smooth filter in World Creator 2. And I don't know why we didn't add it to World Creator 3. Yeah, let's say aka 2020, 3 and upwards. And that filter basically is really nice and it's amazing. And yeah, I don't know why. Why didn't we add that? Why did we
think we
forgot
just
that filter?
never thought about it. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, that's totally crazy, isn't it? So what does the smooth filter do? So basically, one of the issues that you probably might have is if you're adding a sediment flows here, for example, like this one, the terrain looks really quite detailed if you're far from above, right? So if you go in, you're getting a lot of bumps here around. If you move your character here like this, and I mean this is something like, yeah, it's cool. You have a lot of details, but basically, if you're doing game maps, this sort of detail here is not something that you really want to have. So game maps typically are way more smooth. So they are more prominent about like erosion, so you can see the erosion flows and all that stuff, but it's never like you're going into real terrain meshes that have, small bumps at a very high level of detail. So basically, because this is mostly done by textures, and it's also not very good for collisions and all that stuff. So if you're adding the smooth filter, you can get rid of all these things. So if you, for example, a smooth filter, you can find it here under effect at the smooth. Make sure to move it below. And then you get a very nice smooth terrain like this, for example. Now this is something that a game map, specifically for collisions, all that stuff, is much more convenient and much more something that you would like to see and have. Also, specifically, if you're exporting this as a mesh, it's something that you can optimize a lot better than the one without a smooth filter here applied, like that one. Okay, so, but it doesn't mean that you're losing detail. So basically, let's check out the sediment flows here. If you go in here, for example, and we could increase the down cutting here, so we get better erosion lines. And if we just increase like this level step, you can see the difference. So we get more prominent erosions at a very high level. So you can still, control a lot, but without having all those small bumps on the terrain surface itself, and still get a really nice look. Okay, so the smooth filter in this case is really nice, and I don't know why we haven't included in during all those 3-4 years. I think most users, and that's what I realized in many chats, is that they were using the denoise filter basically, this one here, which is not exactly the same approach. Okay, so for all of those people here that want to do game maps specifically, get rid of the denoise filter, use the smooth filter instead. Make sure that the smooth is below, because the workflow in World Creator is always like the bottommost filter. It goes from bottom to up, and the bottommost filter operates on the base terrain like here. So this is your base shape, which could be procedural, or you can sculpt it or whatever. And enabling the smooth filter will smooth the base terrain itself, and everything up on that one is operated on the result of the smooth filter. Okay, so it's better to have that in that folder than in this folder. There you can see the difference, what's happening here. Okay, This is also because the smooth using these level steps, so it's different in handling. So make sure to use this as the very first layer here, and you're really good to go. Okay, so the smooth filter, here we go. The next one is upgraded to .NET 9. Well, this actually gave us an improvement of around 10%. Not for the GPU, but for all CPU related things. .NET framework gets improved. This was my mobile phone. I'm sorry, I just gotta... It's interesting, I don't get any messages during the whole day, but when the stream starts, I'm getting messages all over and over again. Regardless, okay, so the .NET framework improves, I would say, with every version they release from Microsoft. It's always like a high improvement of the entire framework. They are really improving internal processing of, I don't know what you can read their changes, but most cases everything gets improved extremely fast using, you know, collections and strings and whatever. It's always improving, and it's always like an improvement between 10 or 15%. So we can in general say that if they release a new version and they say something like it's an improvement of around 10% in performance, then this also affects World Creator. It doesn't affect the generation process itself directly, because the generation is performed on the GPU. The GPU doesn't have to do anything with .NET, but there's a little bit all around, like, you know, building up the internal strings, the internal collections for the hierarchy and all that stuff. This is something that's always improved with these changes on .NET. Okay, now let's go through a few fixes here. So we fixed rendering issues on unusual terrain resolutions and on terrain precision values below 1 meter. So this was a bug. Whenever you entered a precision lower than 1 meter, like 2 meter, having a different range size, like let's say 500 by 600 or something like that, so something like non-power of 2, then you got some really weird rendering issues. These were reports, by the way, these were most reports from customers here. Fix the crash that could occur when loading environment maps more than twice. That was the thing. If you loaded here environment maps, if you drag the second map, it mostly crashed World Creator. Fix an issue where the preview caused unexpected area filter behavior. This was about, I don't know, I can't remember right, unexpected area. Okay, let's just forget it. It was fixed. Fix an issue that could generate 0 pixels on odd terrain sizes. Fix an issue that could produce unwanted borders during export under specific circumstances. So this was a really heavy thing. We got a lot of report where the export included unwanted borders. So we got rid of this one here. Fix the crash when exporting object instances at 4 meter precision. So this was the issue when you had objects included and you had a precision of your terrain that was like a 4 meter in precision. Then World Creator just crashed. Okay, so fixes related to EXR import. Fix an issue affecting height blending. Fix incorrect offset values in the classic base shape settings on the terrain. So these were some smaller things. Fix incorrect border generation for baked sculpt layers. That was also something that if you create a sculpt layer and you basically baked it. So let's say you create a sculpt layer like that one here, like this, and you go here for shape layers and you click bake. Then you had a border here along 2 sides, which was really disturbing things and was clearly said a bug. Okay, then we had fixed multiple export related issues across various formats and settings. Yeah, these were also reported by customers. Very uncommon export settings basically. So that's why I think it didn't come up to show up to everybody. So yeah, this was for World Creator 2026.1. So mostly fixing issues, improving the performance, overall performance and everything. And one thing that I didn't include here is that we really improved the overall generation. So what I need to show you is, let me see, was this here part of that one? Oh no, this was part of 0.2, right? So the current version that is online, it has currently one bug left. I'm gonna show you that, but we already fixed it and we added new features. So the next version is coming. I think I will upload it either this week or next week. This was here, the terrain detail in Viewport. So we had a lot of people saying that your Viewport looks like sometimes like low resolution terrains. Okay. So we were like, okay, always explaining, look, the Viewport has its limits because we're not rendering ultra high details out because it's just, it's going to reduce performance on lower end GPUs. So we need to be careful with the rendering because the rendering itself is a path tracer, and the path tracer alone really takes a lot of performance. So we limited it to a 4K resolution in generating terrain. So the 4K resolution means this one here. So this is a 4K terrain by 4K terrain. This here was the maximum that you were able to view in World Creator's Viewport regarding detail. So basically, if you look at it, the detail is not low. It's really huge. Look. I mean, this is your feed, and this is, here. Look at that. This is, I mean, typically this is something like you would do probably with displacement using textures. Okay. Now, regardless, we thought, okay, let's see if we can improve this to a much higher detail. So we made it a lot faster in that way in the entire generation. You could see that this 4K terrain generated extremely fast already. But we go another step, and that step is, okay, let's see if we can enable 8K terrains in the Viewport, which is really huge, by the way, and also display them and make the generation quick and fast as well. So let's go to 1.8 meter here. You will see the difference right here. So this is, let me see if we can get a better view here. We need a little bit kind of shadow parts here. Okay, so here we go. Here we have a nice sample. Here's a vertex. These are vertices, right? So look at that. This is extremely detailed now. Okay, so let's switch back to 1/4. So you can see the difference. This is 1/4, 4K resolution, and this is now 8K resolution in the Viewport. So regardless if you're going to create a terrain like this, or if you go and create a larger terrain, the terrain always was limited to 4K, but now it's always an 8K resolution. So the larger terrain gets, the less detail you will have, because it's impossible, to create an exact resolution like 16K, or 32K in real time and displaying it. That's there are physical limits on your GPU, VRAM and all that stuff. But now the generation is like four times, as I said, more detailed. Okay, so even for larger terrains, you will get now a much more detailed preview of the entire terrain than you had in the previous version in 2025. So these are one of those improvements. And if you now think about like, okay, we've applied here a really complex simulation by eroding and applying sediments and all that, and we just generate that 8K map, so which is basically a 60K map here, within it took like 1.5 seconds. Then you can imagine what you could do by adding materials, objects, and all that stuff. So it's really fast. It got extremely fast. If we also check how the simulation got improved, so if we go back to 1 meter here, this is also something that we have improved incredibly. So it's really powerful more. The sand simulation performance significantly improved. The sand simulation that we have previously was fast, but somehow the fluid simulation was faster. But basically it's the same technique, okay? So the sand simulation now is just as fast as the fluid simulation. You can see that here. It reacts in, it's really crazy. It's really real time. That's one of those things that took a lot of time to improve, but we had to do that step. And there's still improvement, so there's still more room for improvements, and we're still on it. So we discussed this, if we are going to add new major features, or if we should stick with improving World Creator, making a few things more clear, improving the workflow, improving the entire performance overall, improving the UI responsiveness here. And we decided to clean up everything and just see that we make it more stable, getting rid of issues. And features are more like we're adding minor features that are going to support a lot of things here, but we're not going to add major features right now. So this is coming along in around mid-2026, where we're going to add new major features, but until then we're going to improve and clean up the code and see that we get things more stable. But it's already extremely stable. So okay, then let's go on with the AGX tone mapping. So maybe also you want to tell us something about this here.
Yes, exactly. So we had that issue that when you sync over terrain from WorldCrit into Blender, it always looked kind of off regarding the colors, and we nailed it down to the tone mapping that Blender internally uses, which is AGX. So we thought about, okay, maybe we might add that in Word Creator as well, so that the preview you already see in Word Creator later on matches what you see in Blender. So that's now under tone mapping. If you switch it to AGX there, yeah, it is a lot more muted and has more of a filmic look overall.
Actually activated. So it's a legacy color input, and if you're starting a new project, this one is disabled. So yeah. So you still get the same rendering. If you're loading your old project, then this one is a legacy color output is enabled for AGX. It's always
and I think it also has
a
different tone mapping. So the one that was already in there.
Yeah.
But it's just an option to make it more compatible with different rendering approaches.
Yeah, exactly. So that's amazing. Let's go on before we go to the next interesting things here. Automatic crash reporting. That's really cool. This is like if World Creator is crashing, then it sends to our server a nice information. It's no personal information included, nothing like that. It's just the pure exception that is going to send to our server, and we're collecting that in our bug reporter, so we can see the bug before you are able to email this bug to us or write it to us. That way we can improve it at a much better and quicker. The improved UI rendering performance. Yeah, so this is also something that we have improved. It's something that you won't realize that much unless you have a lot of materials and a lot of filters included, so that the UI requires a little bit more GPU power. Then you will feel it. Until then, it's pretty fast and really responsive. The lowest biome no longer uses distribution. So this was something like how can I explain it at best? So people try to what people always try to were thinking, like, if you're adding a new biome here, and let's make a sample here. Let's just quickly show it in a simple way. I think that makes more sense. Let's make this a bluish. So we got, let's take the same color as this one here. And so we take the color of this one here. So what people always thought is, like, if you're painting, let's disable the upmost biome here. So if you're about to paint the global biome, then it means that only red will appear where I have painted it. So red is that material, because that biome just covers this material here. Can get rid of that one. And they thought that this would be red and the rest would be gray. This is not how it works, because this is the most bottom biome. So this means like this is all over the entire terrain, regardless if you're painting on it or not, or if you're raising or not. Okay, so this is your global biome. It's the most underneath biome. It's always applied on everything. So the distribution doesn't make sense at all. So no distributions for the most bottom biome. This distribution has no effect on lowest biome. Distributions come into account if you start with that biome, for example. Then it makes sense. Okay, so you can see here, in my biome painter, I have 2 biomes, and I painted that biome here now. This is where it counts, right? And now if I add a distribution here, like for example, let's say, I don't know, what can we do? Let's take a noise biome. Let's take something like a simplex here. Let's go in for a, let's see, contrast. Oh, I do it wrong. Do I have something? No, here we go. Then you can see that. Now, everything which is blue is this biome here, but it doesn't mean, because I just painted the red biome along these parts here, it doesn't mean that those parts are now like gray, because as said, that biome is still the lowest biome, so everything is going to be touched. That's why we removed the distributions for them, because people thought that, oh, if I go in and give it a noise, then I always see the red parts where the noise is, and the rest should be something like black or gray. This is not the case. I hope you understand that. I really will do a specific tutorial on this, but I will have to wait, because I'm doing the getting started tutorial series, and I need to finish the materials and the object settings before I start doing a biome tutorial. So because, you know, I will have first to cover the materials and the filters and the objects before I do that for the biomes. Okay, so just for you to know, the lowest biome has no distributions, and paintings doesn't affect anything else, but because it's applied everywhere. Let's go back to the original thing here. Okay, now I think now comes to the most interesting part. However, so you can see we fixed here also a lot of crashes and a lot of bug reports and all that stuff. Oh yeah, that was really annoying here. Fixed incorrect topo map rendering and occasional black screen issues when using the denoiser on AMD GPUs. So the AMD GPUs are really a hard task to code for. They don't forget if you have a small bug in your shaders. Yeah. You will regret it. So getting rid of that issue was a huge task indeed. Okay, but now let's move on to something really cool that we added this week, and I'd like to showcase you. So let's open up my Eagle browser here, and one of those features that we added here is the ability that you now can use objects to modify the terrain, and you can use objects as distributions. So I'm going to show you what I mean. So I'm going to import my, we have a castle here. It's a castle ruin. So just import it. Let's place this at some location like this here. Let's move in. And yeah, let's scale it up a little bit. Let me see. Oh, wait, we can do it a little bit more convenient. If we place and hold the left shift key down and use the mouse wheel, we can already scale it up like this here. And we can move it and all that stuff. And now comes the interesting part. So there is now in the upcoming version, it's not right in 2026.2. It will be available in the next version, 2026.3. Coming this week or next week. Let's see when we can upload it. We need to test this feature a bit more in depth. So if you click this toggle here, adapt terrain, you can now, let's make it a little bit more easy like that. You can now tell the system what to do with the terrain beneath that object. Okay, so if I move it around here, nothing not much is going to, you can slightly see that there's something changing here, but it's nothing obvious. So let's increase the level step a little bit, and you will see a huge difference already. So it really changes the terrain underneath. You have your scale values for like something like this, so you can use it to create stuff. And of course, you can further adapt it so it matches a little bit better with the entire terrain and all these things. So this is really, really nice, specifically when you're about to place objects, or like in this case, like a castle or something like that. Yeah, the level steps, exactly. The level steps are really, really powerful. But people need to understand that. And that way we have a lot of more things we can do in designing everything around objects. So the thing here is that we think it only makes sense manipulating the terrain for manual placed objects, okay? So because if you're placing houses or, I don't know, specific locations, then it's always like, okay, this is something like a design stuff. Procedural things are not really designed on the terrain itself, so for placing things manually, you want to have control over that. So it makes a lot of sense to have that only for the castle ruins. So we're thinking about adding it to procedural objects, so we're going to see that if that works, but for now, this will be included for manual placed objects here. And the really nice thing about that is, regarding if you're adding a filter or something like that, it still keeps on working like that, okay? So it's really, really cool. Look at that, amazing. It can adapt it, and you know, can use the level steps here to give it a bit more, so it blends much better with the underlying terrain itself. There's many options you can use to get what you want. And this also works if you're scaling your model. It also scales everything else around it. So highly adaptive. And yeah, of course, there are some few things like you can offset things. You can rotate things here. You can do a height offset as well. It's also possible. Really, really nice. I love that feature. It gives a lot of new possibilities. Can this landscape function apply to a spline? Can this landscape function apply to spline? Please explain. What do you mean? The path already manipulates the terrain itself. So this is already possible with the path layer. Okay, the next thing here is, which I really like, is like using an object as a distribution itself. So for example, I think we need a texture. Let's do we have a nice texture here?
Yeah, you can just take one of the materials from Eagle, probably.
Yeah. Okay, let me see. We can take. Okay, let's take maybe that rock ground 12 zip. I don't know. Okay, let's load this one in here. Oh no, wait. I love the Megaskins textures. Basically, they are really nice. Nature. Let me see if we can find something. No, this is a. Oh no, the 3D. Oh, this is a 2D pack. Oh, I need to check the 2D packs. Okay, let's go for gravel maybe. No, ground. Let's say ground. Forest ground, or I don't know. Regardless, I think I would just take something. Ah, here, riverbed. I like the riverbed texture. I don't know why. It has water, but it looks great. Okay, so let's take that one. So I'm adding this material here. this riverbed texture here looks like that. Let's increase a little bit the tiling. So here we go. Where is it? Here we go. Let's increase the tile size a little bit. Something like this maybe. We can go even a little bit higher. Doesn't matter. showcase reasons. Let's make stochastic distributions. And what I want to do now is I want to make that texture only available all around the castle only. So that's pretty simple. All you got to do is use that castle here and drag and drop it into the distribution of that material. And it basically should show up. Whoops. Here we go. Okay, it worked. Nice. I thought it would crash. So we had a lot of luck. Okay, now we go to the objects here. And here we can adapt further things. So we can use, for example, use adapt terrain settings and take exactly the settings of the object itself that we use. So these settings are taking out the settings of that castle rune. So each time I'm changing that, you can see how textures are applied. Or you can use that one. This makes it a lot easier to texture your terrain specifically based on object that you place. And that's really cool. That's really cool. And what did Double tell me that we could show if we go to another material? Yeah, we could stack another material, right?
Mm-hmm.
And use the same object here as well. So we could just use that object too. Like this, I think. Yeah, here we go. We already can see that. So go in here too. Let's scale it like this. Something like this. And you can see you can use multiple textures, multiple materials in blending with the object itself. Of course, you can keep on going. Like, for example, you could use here a noise again, like a simplex noise, to mix it. Let's give a contrast here, make it like this, and then increase the amplitude a little bit, and mix it with the underlying ground texture, with the ground material, which is this one here, with this first material. So I really like that feature. I really like that. It's really powerful. It's just crazy what you can do with it.
And it's also nice since you can combine it with other kind of objects. So
yes,
you can use it to place, for example, trees around that castle now.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's take a nature manufacture tree here. Let's take that one. Okay, let me see if we can mix that. Okay, first we need to change the texture. I think we need to change the texture. Okay, you know what? You're looking for a good texture, and tell me which texture I should use for the things, while I'm checking how to get this tree around that one here too. So we got the tree here. The first thing I'm going to do is to increase a little bit the scaling here. So let's make that a little bit larger, like maybe something like that here. And I'm going to use the castle rune again here for a distribution like this. Okay, and for that tree we need to reduce the instance distance so we have a bit more, and most importantly I think we should scale up the area in which the trees should appear around that castle. Something like that here maybe. Now okay, so now the question is, how do we get rid of the tree here within that castle? So I think we need another distribution for the object, I guess. So let me see if we can fix that. So go in here for that one. We need to set this to subtract, and then we can. Here we go. Oh, it's already doing it. Okay, here we got the tree inside the castle, and now we're subtracting it. So let me enable the heat maps. Well, you can see that here. I think the heat map's not working for these. Oh, they do work. Look at this. Awesome. So let's make it roundness a little bit. And we don't want anything within that castle. So let's make it a little bit like this. And the trees are out of the castle. Now let's see if that works. So if we use a larger instance distance, there's no tree getting into the castle. That's really cool. That's really amazing. And we still got the textures here. That's really cool. And now, because we have a dependency of the materials and the objects around that castle object, we can move that castle. Select it here. Click T for transform. And let's adapt the terrain. Look at that. Oh, that's so cool. I need to create a new scene now. That's really amazing. I love that.
And it's really quite fast.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind that it's running at 8K right now? Or...
Now we have...
okay.
Well, we can increase to
still.
8K. Not a big deal. So let's go in and move our castle ruin with 8K resolution. Here we go. It takes a little bit of time because of the materials and the objects to be placed, but the terrain adapts incredibly fast. Look at that. Look how quick the terrain adapts to these changes. That's totally crazy. That's totally crazy.
There was one question in the chat whether it's able to whether we are able to hide the object and still keep the transform that it does. But I think if you disable it there, then it's probably also.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
staying in there. Nice.
It doesn't matter. You can disable objects. This is no problem. You can basically you can use objects as a special design tool if you want. Yeah. I don't even think that you need to import a object. You basically just can add. Let's try this. I don't know. Can we create separate objects, or is it always just object collections? No. So we got this object here, and I'm going to change that now. So I'm going here, and I'm choosing my object collection. Let me see if that works.
But I think you have to place it in the scene, right?
Oh damn! Yeah, we need to place it. Yeah, we need to place it. Okay, that's a fact. Yeah.
But maybe you can place like an empty instance. I'm not sure about that. Maybe that might work.
Here you see we got a bug. Here we see we got a bug. It doesn't regenerate things if we change the object. So I have to force the generator to entirely regenerate things again. Okay, but this is not a big deal, so we can get rid of that bug. Okay, so we need to place it, but I don't know. This is wait. What's wrong here? No, this is my castle, and that's my object collection. Okay, this is a bug. This is definitely a bug. This shouldn't happen here. There's something got wrong here, I think.
If you shift press it now into the scene with an empty collection, then you might be.
Yeah.
Maybe it places null. Otherwise, that.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay. This works.
Yeah.
This
if you
works here.
put in the adapt terrain, can
Let
you
me see if that works. Adapt terrain. No, it's not. I don't know. But maybe just the scaling is too large. No, too small. No. Okay. Empty collection's not working. Okay. But I think it doesn't make much sense having empty because it's really hard to see. Look at that, you know. Oh, here. That's maybe one of the reasons here. We're completely out of the because I can't see the object. So maybe this is one of the reasons here. I don't know. Damn it. Where is it? Here we go. Yeah, you can't see that. Okay, so I think it doesn't make sense for objects that are empty. But yeah. Okay, so forget that one. You should place. Look, something is getting a bit weird here. We need to check that. Okay, however, I think best is, as you said here, best is use that one. It's not going to be exported, and you can use it for design reasons as well. Yeah, you can place multiple of these ones, right? So if I do it here too, I can place multiple castles here with some trees around it. That's pretty nice. That's crazy. I really like that. I really like that. That's a really cool feature. I know we had something similar in World Creator too. but it wasn't that powerful. It wasn't that powerful. So I really need to experiment with this, because what's really cool about this is also, because I haven't tried it yet, but we could use that for biome distributions as well, I think. I don't know. I mean, we can try.
I mean, it should work, yeah, in
We
theory.
can try. Okay, let me see. How can we set up a quick thing like that? So let me see. Let's take that here and this into these objects here. Okay. Let's adapt it to that one here, and let's just add a material. Oh yeah, here. Look, already it works. So we have a biome here. It's a white biome, and it just is now along these castle things here. So what's interesting now about this one would be like, if you want to have a forest or something like that, you could use a objects for the forest center or for whatever, for a forest location. Use a noise map for the entire forest itself, and use that for the biome distribution as well. So the forest becomes the biome, and that's really cool. That's interesting. I like that. I really like that.
Yeah, I think it opens up a lot of possibilities.
Absolutely.
You-
We need to
into that.
experiment a lot with these things, because this is a new sort of design that
Yeah.
I've never seen before. So this is really cool. We need to see. We need to make sure that everything works out of the box without any bugs, and then we need to probably, I think, build a sample based on using this for biome design as well. But really nice.
There was one question about multi-monitor support, so that the window can be undocked. I'm not sure if you've talked about that internally.
We
But-
actually did years ago. Yeah, that is something that it is possible, but it requires a lot of changes. And to be honest, this would significantly reduce performance. And I mean really significantly reduce performance. I don't want to know. I mean, I don't know if you want to go that approach. I don't want to know. So what I'm not what I don't want to do is to lose the real time generation things in World Creator. So and this will be really a huge impact basically. So something that we might examine, but I don't think. No, it's more than 10%. No worries. Yeah, I know other programs have that. It's not the main reason why they are so slow, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, I'm running this on a 3K monitor here. I don't know. I think when running at a 4K monitor, you have a much larger space to work with. And I don't think that we can compare Work Creator with a node-based approach, because the other apps really taking a lot of stuff away from the viewport. So they're like, you have settings on the left side, you have some node-based editors in the bottom area, and the viewport, a very small viewport in the upper area. So it makes sense that they do something like you can move the viewport out of their application, you can move the node-based things to another monitor. But in World Creator, it's not a node-based system. We just have that part here in the UI that really takes the most part of the entire work. So I don't think it makes much sense just moving that part out to another monitor. It's just a 1/4 of space that it takes of that screen already. So I don't think it makes sense for World Creator itself, to be honest, because as said, the UI is completely different from others, completely different. What do you think also about that?
Yeah, I mean, we have the benefit that we can have a fairly large viewport.
Yeah.
And the way that it's currently implemented in the UI, so that it's like this floating style,
Yeah.
could kind of rip it out. And I mean, in a sense, it makes more sense for like other programs that take up more of your screen space. So
Yeah.
I think World Creator is already fairly like viewport focused
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
regard.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Yes, especially, yeah. I mean, what Tyler just said, that maybe docking another camera view into another window.
Yeah, that's something.
Could
Yeah,
be
that could be done.
interesting.
That could be probably done, like an off-screen renderer, maybe for ultra-realistic renders or something that could be separated out into another window. Yeah, that probably makes sense. That probably makes sense, but not the UI itself. It doesn't make sense. Okay. Was there anything else they wanted to show you? I think we're done, right? I don't know.
I think so. Yeah.
On
Yeah.
my list here. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Yeah. Oh, maybe something that you need to know. Because we are now on Reddit. So if you want to come to Reddit and join us, go to World Creator, our World Creator. You can reach us here also on the website. You go to community. That's really new. Visiting us on Reddit. We are aware that we need a lot of more social work, not only on Discord. So this is something that we really missed during the past years. We focused mostly on Discord, and then there was a message that Discord is going to introduce that age verification, which is really I was really like, no way, you're getting my ID card. Forget that, guys. You're not even getting an image from me. I don't want that. I never will gonna touch that. And just a few days later, when I said that even on Discord, you remember it, right? I just a few days later, it turned out that I think it was Persona or something like that. Yeah. That millions of ID cards and just got leaked. I mean, what the fuck? This can't. I mean, no way. So we decided to. We're not going to drop Discord. Just to be clear, Discord is amazing. It's great for quick chats, for quick answering things, and all that stuff, keeping up communication, all that. So we're not going to drop it. No way. Discord is too large. And the Discord community is really amazing and really huge. But there were a few things on Discord happening in the past month that I didn't like that much, because there were a lot of scammers, a lot of hacked accounts, a lot of spam that just showed up on every channel, and we really had to delete them, really got banned people and all that stuff. I didn't like that much. And somehow this got better now, but I don't think that... But I think now that another million, I don't know how many information just got leaked from personal information of Discord users. This might getting worse a little bit in the next month. So we decided to set up a forum, which is available here here at forum.worldcreator.com. We don't have much members right now, so I think I personally think that well, a forum is very old school, to be honest. But we suggest that the people move to the forum as well, because it's really nice. You can communicate in a less stressful way. It's not real time, of course, but it's a little bit less stress. It takes out of the daily quick fast responses that people wait for. We didn't enable direct communications, so no worries about getting spam with DMs or something like that. If you want to say something, if you have to share something, you can do that in forum without getting annoyed by probably users that contacting you and writing you and whatever. And then the Reddit here as well, that we're gonna focus on. So we will keep the Discord and Reddit and the forum here on World Creator. We might change a little bit the forum. We didn't know if we should go to Discourse or not. So this is a step that we didn't finally made, but for now we're using a forum from WorldLab. It's a German company here. I think one of the initial forums for World Creator was based on WorldLab as well. Yeah. Okay. The next tutorial is planned for. The script is already done for the materials, so I'm going to, take the video for it. Hopefully this week, latest early next week, and then continue the objects as well. And yeah, we also gonna plan to add way more tutorials on the YouTube channel. And I think you also wanted to jump in on that, right?
Yeah, there are coming more, definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. Great.
There was one, like Tyler already kind of answered it, about how to build a scene with foreground elements. Maybe you also see it in the chat, since it's about whether to build a really dense area in the foreground, for stuff that's in the foreground in a really dense way, on a smaller terrain first, and then scale it up afterwards. So kind of how the biome system works right now.
Yeah.
I think you usually work like that you build your biomes on a smaller scale terrain and then scale it up for a whole terrain, right?
Would it be okay to build a smaller terrain with much more details? So it's more for close-ups, basically, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for the foreground. So what is next to the camera?
Well, what is next to the camera? Yeah. I swear I'm hoping to pick up last year. Okay. This is, well, yeah. I mean, you typically if you have those renders that are showing very much detail and you're very close to the terrain, basically on the terrain ground. You had a lot of details all around the camera, right? And you're hiding a lot of stuff that is far in the background. So basically, I would suggest in such an approach, you can do that easily basically in World Creator. So the best approach would be, like, as Utso said, having two biomes maybe. The first biome, you just paint the you're finding a good spot for your terrain. So let's say for your camera, where your camera sits on the terrain. So this is your spot of the underlying biome, and you can then use a mask for the biome distribution and paint everything around that camera to tell that this is this is my first biome, and in that biome using, like, I don't know, let's say high detail models, cinematic models, and you're really having grass and flowers and small rocks and pebbles and whatever you can think of. This is your high detail area. And the really good thing about this is that if you're using a mask, you can you can blend that out a little bit. So the farther the camera looks, you're blending that biome a little bit out, and it mixes with the next biome that is coming, where you're using, let's say, just trees and maybe larger rocks. Okay. And then you have less detail on the far side, but the user won't see that because it's too far away, and it still blends with the near details, and that would be the perfect shot. Basically, that's how I would do it. And the good approach now with that would be, like, if you're using an object that is your camera, or is beneath your camera, you can move that object without painting the mask for the biomes. You can move that object with the camera, and you have to find another spot on your terrain that you like, and you still have the same high detail that you want, and nothing else changes. So it's really just like moving the camera around, and you get high detail, and that's how I would do it. I mean, I didn't try that yet, but that sounds logically to me. Or what do you think?
Yeah. Maybe it might also be interesting to have a camera distribution or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. You know what? Put that into the Trello, please. I think that's really good. That's a really good.
At
point.
Least that's what came to my mind when you just said it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's write it down. That makes absolutely sense. Absolutely sense. then using the camera, and then we could use for the camera distribution, we could have settings like only everything in the viewport of the camera, maybe. Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with the distance, less detail. Well, this could be done. This is not a big deal. That's a good point, actually. Yeah. If you can, please write that down into the.
Yeah. Already put it in there.
I know Dabel. He's implementing that within an hour or something like that. So it's nothing really special. So this is a good point. It's a really good point. Thanks for that. Good idea. Okay. Now, there were questions about the Cinema 4D plugin and about the Houdini plugin and about the Godot plugin. Now, the thing here is the following. World Creator, we already have that export where you can export to as an Octane package. It's here. I'm just showing it in this in that stream. And if you export that one, it exports the terrain along with the materials applied to the terrain. Now, this is something that we haven't updated yet, which means we don't include objects. But we're going to examine this. So expect the Octane package. Do you have the objects that you place in World Creator, procedural or manually, will be included in that OrbX format, okay? Now, we thought about implementing that in the Cinema 4D bridge on our end too, just like we did for Unreal, for Blender, and for Unity, and doing this for Houdini and doing this for Godot. To be honest, I think it makes a lot more sense to have this in the Octane package only, specifically for Cinema 4D and maybe also for Houdini. Because if you're running an Octane subscription, and I know that most people that use Cinema 4D in a professional way for creating renders and all that stuff, they either use Redshift or Octane. Then you already might have an Octane subscription. You might have the Octane Cinema 4D plugin, and then it just works out of the box. So you don't have to care, and that's a huge advantage, to be honest. I think for Godot, because Godot doesn't have an Octane plugin, as far as I know, I think for Godot it might make sense. What do you think, Otto?
Yes. I mean, yes, there's no Octane for Godot, but the problem in general is always that thinking about how to implement those objects is quite complicated because it's a very native system to each package.
Yeah.
So, for example, in Blender you have geometry nodes. In Unreal you have to do it through a PCG, and Unity is completely different in that regard. So it takes a lot of work and thinking how to implement it properly. I might have to check how it's usually done in Godot. I think at least for trees, there's with Terrain 3D that we're currently using, there's already an option for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I might have to look into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Alternatively, besides the OrbX package, I think we already talked also about it. USD could be quite interesting.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's true. So USD.
Since that is something, that you can also, I think, import into Max, Cinema, Houdini, Blender, and everything. And
But the same for the Octane package would also work for 3ds Max and Maya, because as far as I know, there's Otto has plugins for these tools too. And
but I think it's only when you're using Octane.
Yeah.
And with USD,
okay, you're limited to.
You're more agnostic.
Not a limitation, but if you're using Octane, it would work basically. So, yeah. And I mean, Octane is an amazing partner for us. So I think that makes 100% sense.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and they really go for those for this new technique, geosplatting, right? Was it that? No.
You mean Gaussian splatting?
Yeah, Gaussian splats, right. So this is also amazing. I just saw that, totally blown away, and they solved a lot of issues, like I don't know, baked in shadows or something like that, right? That's amazing. That's really cool. Okay. Any questions? Else, I think we're done with the stream for today, and we're planning a lot of more live streams. So I hope we can do maybe a live stream per month. And the next one we could probably go for either Blender or Unreal or maybe Unity if you want. And next time you're doing it because you're the British specialized.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, guys. If there's no questions anymore left, then yeah. Thanks for watching the stream. Go check out our forum. Go check out our Reddit. We need to see that these two new communities are growing as quickly as only possible. Yeah. Have a great day. Stay safe. And yeah, prepare for the next version of World Creator coming hopefully this week or at latest next week. Okay. Thanks for watching then.